Hello, I'm Daniel Blake, and I want to thank you for your interest in TheBOSS. I've designed many major software systems over the past 50 years, and TheBOSS is by far my best one. I'd like to share with you a list of 10 observations about network marketing in TheBOSS. After we go through the list, I'll show you some of the incredibly useful tools TheBOSS offers, and I think you'll agree that this is the most important software system to have. First, I'd like to start by making a really bold statement. Really useful software for network marketers has just not existed up until now. Sure, there have been some contact managers, email things, and tracking things, but barely anything really useful that could affect your bottom line in a very significant way. TheBOSS is a powerful and effective computer system specifically designed to support you and your Noni business. TheBOSS delivers automated productivity and diagnostic tools that are readily available in virtually all other industries. We did extensive research into what other industries are doing to optimize what they do. You can read about some of this research in Chapter 4 of our eBook. TheBOSS is an absolutely necessary analytical tool for anyone who is at all serious about optimizing their Noni business. TheBOSS gives you a 12-step program along with the necessary diagnostic tools to totally optimize your business. TheBOSS gives you important live objective data about all the leaders in your organization, revealing significant and costly problem areas that you would never know about without TheBOSS. This alone could radically affect both your growth rates and your income potential, both for you and all your leaders. With TheBOSS, you can now effectively manage your whole downline all the way down, and this allows you to affect the high commission areas of your business that you just could not do before. TheBOSS clearly shows relationships between customer satisfaction, autoship participation, and attrition. In our ebook, we identified the real causes and solutions of attrition. Attrition is not something that just happens. Once we really understand how it all really works, and have the proper tools to measure it, we can do something about it. TheBOSS gives you the tools to virtually eliminate attrition, and this is our goal, to stop attrition in its tracks. In that way, we can get to pure growth without the drag of attrition. TheBOSS is a system to create loyalty, and loyalty is what eliminates attrition. Okay, now let's have some fun. Let's use one of our reports to drill down through a leg and see what we can see. Here's what TheBOSS's main screen looks like. We download all your genealogy data from your Noni back office into TheBOSS every 28 days or once a month. All the data for each person in your downline is then available here on the top of the screen: name, email address, and phone numbers. To dial the phone, just click here. But before you do, please check what time it is at this person's location. TheBOSS shows you what time it is at the contact's location here. I can see it's plus 8 hours there, or 5:29 p.m. right now. There's plenty of room to add your own comments in the middle here. There's this area at the bottom to automatically track conversations, promises, and progress. We'll cover all this in detail in another video. I'd like you to know that the names and phone numbers you might see have been changed, but the data is real. You can see down here that there are 2,533 people in this downline. You will soon see that we can check it all out pretty quickly. Today we want to find out how Millie Barina is doing. I've already pulled her up. You can see here that Millie is way down on the 5th level in a little corner of this downline where we'll begin our fact-finding adventure trip today. Just imagine what it'll be like for you to be exploring unknown territories in your own downline. By the way, in this report, we are defining a leader as anyone who has 50 or more people in their downline. Next, I'll click on the Reports drop down, and you'll see that there's many reports, like the autoship report, the duplication report. To drill down through a leg, I'm going to choose the leg report, and I'll just click on it. The date of the previous download and the date of the current download are remembered by TheBOSS, and they now appear so I can validate the dates. All I have to do is click on OK, and the leg report starts. There it goes. The boss is now doing a lot of work here, going up and down all the branches of this leg, compiling the statistics that you'll see in a few seconds. I'm showing you how easy and fast it is to find real objective facts, not only about your favorite leaders that you hang out with, but you'll also be able to know all about all your leaders, all the way down to the lower levels where the compensation rates are higher. Did you know that 90% of your people live in your lower 5 levels? Don't you think that's where you should put your attention? With the technology of the boss, we're able to use innovative analytical numbers that are great predictors of problem areas. Then and only then are we able to find and stop losing whole legs without even knowing it. Whole-scale attrition can now be virtually eliminated. Please get used to the idea that everyone in your downline is your responsibility and that everyone in your business is your business. I see the leg report has come up. When we look at this report for the first time and then drill down to other levels, we'll see that some leaders are excelling. Some leaders will show signs of future troubles. And with other leaders, we'll see them dying off at a disturbing rate, where it might even be too late to save them. Sometimes we just have to do what we can do, and then we just have to let them go. It's important to learn from it, and promise never to let it happen again. A lost leader is someone who grew a nice downline and then chose to stop leading for some unknown reason. Our main job here will be to look for those leaders who show the indicators of weakness, and these will be our lost leaders to work with and see what we can do. For the lost leaders we locate, we'll then create action plans and campaigns designed to raise their indicators to at least average acceptable levels. We do this by whatever means necessary. We do this by either re-inspiring the lost leader or by finding someone else to fill the leadership vacuum. Our first goal and obligation is to identify the dead and dying legs. Our second goal is then to bring everyone up at least to average performance or better. Second, we know there's a whole class of performance above average called optimal performance, and that's why we also want to take note of the exceptional performers as we go. Later I'll show you living examples of what optimal performance looks like, and we'll talk more about it. Remember that network marketing is about helping and taking care of people whenever we become aware that someone is in trouble. There's a whole stack of leaders above a lost leader who have a moral obligation to step in and help. The lost leaders upline all have large financial incentive in helping these lost or losing leaders. The compensation is very cleverly designed to richly reward those who help their own people. The 7 leaders above each losing leader actually have more to lose than the one leader in trouble. Once a leader loses interest, the leg will first show signs of weakness, and then will quickly go down into a downward spiral and ultimately cease to exist. Soon we'll show you a report that shows a large percentage of legs in the downline we're looking at that are diminishing at an alarming rate. The problem is not about whether these legs can be turned around. The problem up until now has been the lack of monitoring mechanisms. We can't fix something we're not aware of. Now we have no excuses because we now have precise and detailed total awareness of how everyone is doing. Once attrition is thoroughly understood, and by running regular periodic monitoring analytics, we should effectively stop attrition in its tracks. Now let's take a closer look at this leg report. So this is what the leg report looks like. Everything you want to know about Millie's leg is on this report. In the heading of this report, you can see that Millie Barina is on level 5. This report shows all of Millie's first level people, which are listed by title and name in the left columns. You can see on the total line, on the bottom line in red, that Millie has 15 people on level 6. Also, Millie has 1,498 people in her whole downline. Percent autoship participation, or PAP as we call it, is an important new statistic we came up with. It's shown in the autoship column. Both number and percent are shown for all level 6 people as well as Millie on the total line. We believe that PAP is a very significant indicator of the health and happiness of a leg. Of Millie's 1,498 people, only 460 people are on autoship. That means her PAP is 30.71%. The The average PAP for all legs in the whole downline that we're working on is 28.15%. While we believe that PAP in this downline is low, Millie is doing just a little bit better than average for this downline. This period, Millie has 82 new people, which we call ins, and only 24 outs, or people leaving. This calculates to a net growth of 58 people, or 3.87% growth. Not bad for a 28-day period. Now let's look at some of Millie's people in the body of this report. Nick is on the first line, which is highlighted in blue. You can see that Nick accounts for 1,395 people, or 93.12% of Millie's people. One thing we can clearly see is that Millie could definitely use some more producers. Mick has an above average growth rate of 4.23% in 28 days. That's pretty terrific. He has a reasonable and average PAP of 32.04%. I think Nick is doing great, but he's not what we would call optimal yet, so we'll pass over him, and after we've dealt with all the lost leaders we can find, then maybe we'll come back to him. Now let's look at the second line. I'll click on it to highlight it in blue. Dr. Kovac has 81 people in his downline, so he qualifies as a leader. Notice that Dr. Kovac has 0 ins and 0 outs, so there's 0 growth. It looks like some time ago Dr. Kovac just stopped working the business for some unknown reason. Notice the PAP of this important leg is only 6.17%. This is abysmal. This is a definite sign that the interest and the energy in this leg is chronically weak. The boss would have given an early warning a long time ago when the PAP first began taking a nosedive. I hope it's not too late to redeem this large leg. There's definitely a leadership vacuum in Dr. Kovac's leg. An action plan needs to be created and implemented. The boss has alerted you to the fact that this size of a leg on the 6th high money level is in big trouble. The first thing to do is call someone in Dr. Kovac's upline and find out if anyone is aware of the situation and if anyone is doing anything about it. You can see at the bottom right corner that you can email this report to anyone, so you both have some objective data to talk about. Dr. Kovac still has 81 people in his downline. With proper follow-up, possibly many people could be revived. I guarantee that if immediate action is not taken, most of the 81 people in this leg will soon be gone. An intervention is definitely called for. I feel we need to see what we can do here. What happened to Dr. Kovac? He could be ill and needs help, or his feelings could have been hurt by some silly argument or comment somebody made. Or he could have just lost interest or become disenchanted. With a little attention, he might be revived along with 81 people on this high-paying level. If Dr. Kovac no longer wants to work the business, you can offer to find a leader to assume responsibility for his people. Someone possibly in the immediate upline could assume responsibility for this valuable leg. All of Dr. Kovac's upline have financial interest in his continued success and should be willing to jump in. I would think Dr. Kovac would also like to have his income keep going. It's in his best interest. It took a lot of work to build a leg this size. It should not be allowed to just fade away just because the doctor does not want to play anymore. All the people in this leg were interested in some aspect of Noni at some time. It's just a matter of reigniting that interest. Just think of what's at stake here. People in this leg are at high commission levels. Do the math. What would an active, engaged, participating IPC with a family and friends be worth on the 6th, 7th, or 8th level? Spending a little time to fill these leadership vacancies at these levels is much more cost-effective than just about anything else you could be doing right now. As you work more with the boss, you have the opportunity to get to know and work effectively with all your leaders. Each period, you'll have new updated data to track the results of your efforts to improve the numbers. You'll also be aware of trends in your whole business. So let's review, and I'll just show you the numbers. We've just been playing with a portion of one leg in this downline for just a couple of minutes, and we found 2 average but not great legs, and that would be Millie and Nick on the left. Then we found Dr. Kovac's leg on the right, which was in very serious trouble. If we had found out about him earlier, we might have had a better chance of saving the life of this large leg forever. Just to balance this out, I'd like to find an optimal leg just to show you what it looks like. I suggest we start with Nick's leg and drill down and see what we can find. Nick is on level 6 and has a leg led by Mila on level 7. Mila has 902 in his downline and accounts for 65% of Nick's business. Mila has okay autoship participation and good growth, as you can see. Mila has a leg led by Malanka on level 8 with 153 people in it. You can see the PAP and the growth are great and are going up. We now have double-digit growth and almost a majority of people participating in autoship. Now we're getting close to our definition of an optimal leg. Malanka's stats are, of course, affected by leaders on the next level down. So let's go down another level. Malanka has a leader called Dan, and Dan is not related to me. Dan's growth rate is a whopping 25% in a 28-day period. The important thing to notice here is that PAP is almost 70%, more than twice as much as most other leaders. Remember that twice as much autoship participation results in twice as much income without enrolling anyone new. A high PAP is also an indicator of a really happy leg, where the majority of people are participating not only in using Noni, but also talking to their friends and family about it. There's obviously a great momentum in this leg. This is a great example of what we call an optimal or an optimized leg, which is going full speed. Leaders all the way up and down can become aware that this is not only possible, but it's being done, and this can be the norm. Notice the fact that there are 0 outs. By keeping the momentum up, the outs will remain at 0. Every in goes directly into the growth column. This is what we call pure growth. This is the model we want to set up for all to follow. High PAP, 0 outs, high ins, and high momentum. If this was my downline, I would definitely find out what Dan is doing and write a story about him and use the boss to broadcast an email to everyone on my downline. I've watched Dan for 3 months, and he has consistently kept his growth up in the 20 to 25% range. I would definitely keep my eye on Dan. I checked on Dan in June of 2012. That was 15 months later. Dan had 208 people in his downline, so he did grow. However, we don't know how big he got or what happened before he lost it. We don't know because nobody was doing their job of watching over him, and of course, there was no boss. Dan had only 4 people on autoship. His PAP was a dismal 1.92%. That's less than 2%, down from almost 70%. Dan, who was once great, has become just another lost leader. This, in my opinion, is a real tragedy, and I know it could have been avoided by filling the leadership void. This is a true story, only the names have been changed to protect the innocent. So remember the leaders and numbers we just looked at, because I want to show them to you on another report in a slightly different format. Have you ever seen a leaderboard before? The TV show Dancing with the Stars has a new leaderboard every week. All sales organizations have leaderboards, and now you can have one too. I ran the leg report for all the leaders with 50 or more people in them. As you saw, this is fun and easy to do. All you have to do is run the report for the owner of the organization, and then double-click on someone on the next level down that interests you. After compiling all the data, I then listed all the leaders from the highest positive growth to the highest negative growth. This organization of 2,508 people with 35 leaders fits nicely on one page. Don't you think this is astonishing to see all your leaders arrayed like this, from the healthiest on the top to the most ailing on the bottom? It seems that active network marketers either will work their business hard and grow by 2% or more per period, or some leaders, by their attitude and example, will shrink their organization by 2% or more each period. We've color-coded our leaderboard so growers are in the green zone at the top and the shrinkers are in the red zone at the bottom. Then there's the gray zone in the middle, with leaders whose growth is less than plus or minus 2% growth. You can see our leaderboard does an effective job of triage for you. The weak leaders who most need attention with the most serious conditions will always be on the bottom of the leaderboard. The range of growth shown on this leaderboard goes from plus 25% growth to minus 15% growth. That's an amazing 40% spread. When downlines are growing and healthy, leaderboards will have large green zones. Our optimization process is about moving the red and the gray leaders into the green zone. Let's take a closer look at the bottom of this report. Red zones don't get very big because as leaders' legs shrink, there comes a point where they no longer fit our definition of a leader and will simply fall off the bottom of the report. Now let's look at the gray zone. These are the leaders in the middle that show less than plus or minus 2% growth. They are the coasters and the do-nothing group in the middle. You can see your old friend Dr. Kovic here with zero growth. His name is in red. If nothing else is done, Dr. Kovic will move into the red zone and then soon will be out. When downlines get stagnant, they'll have large gray zones. There's another class of leader that you might find in the gray zone. These are the leaders with large number of outs. Outs cancels out the ins and diminish growth. This is called enrolling to try and beat attrition. It's also called churning, turnover, or a revolving door. As we've said before, the boss's objective is to reduce or eliminate the causes of outs. Leaders in the red and gray zones need to focus much more attention on customer satisfaction. On line 20 is Lisa. Lisa is the leader of this whole organization. You can see that she's at level 0. Notice that Lisa is just inside the gray zone at 1.99% growth. Also notice that she is also below all her productive people. This is a big danger signal. I would guess that since she's underperforming her productive leaders, she's probably beginning to drag down her organization. In time, this is shown to be true because in the next 7 months, Lisa's organization will lose an alarming 29.74% of its overall autoship participation. The sad thing is that no leader in her upline ever noticed that Lisa was in trouble, and nobody ever called Lisa to ask her what was happening. I don't think this is about not caring by Lisa's leaders. I do think it's about a lack of real, helpful, and objective data. Now we have no excuse to not be aware of these ongoing tragedies. There is no longer a reason to not care and to take appropriate action to support someone like Lisa, keeping their dream alive and keeping their business going. 28.15% autoship participation is the average for Lisa's whole organization. In our opinion, this is just not high enough to create a level of enthusiasm and momentum necessary to generate a self-perpetuating, optimal organization. Now let's look at the green zone. You can see your old friends that we've talked about here with the red lettering. Rank number 1 is Dan with his 25% growth. Malanka is ranked number 2 with his plus 13.92% growth. Mila is 6th. Nick is at number 8. And good old Millie is ranked number 11. Now let's look at the top 4 lines of this report. This is what we call the optimal zone. Notice there are only 2 outs and 55 ins. Attrition is gone for 3 out of 4 of these leaders. These optimal leaders have virtually eliminated outs. Attrition has been mastered. Practically all other industries teach that it's much more cost-effective to devote your time to customer service to keep people engaged rather than going to all the expense of replacing a customer. Notice PAP is high and the average growth in this zone is 13.61%. Double-digit growth is to be expected when a leg has been optimized. Check out our 12-step optimization program in our eBook. It shows how to use TheBOSS to help you optimize your downline. It's very exciting to interact with a computer like we've done, don't you think? It's even more fun than a video game because you're dealing with real people in your own live business. To really excel in today's world, you need more than a paycheck to know how well you're doing. That would be like a corporation just looking at profits to see how good they're doing. A well-run corporation will look at many automated reports and other markers of actionable items to attain an optimized business. The Boss's software, the Boss's eBook, the Boss's manual, and videos like this one offer you many easy-to-understand, sophisticated diagnostic tools and techniques which have not existed in network marketing up until now. These tools will guide you to work in the areas of your business that need it the most. In this way, you can leverage your time and effort to be much more effective in achieving your dreams.